What's going on, everyone? So, reports just came out that Bradley Beal would waive his no-trade clause for 3 teams. The Denver Nuggets, the Miami Heat, and the Los Angeles Lakers. And, of course, people are running away with the Lakers because it's the Lakers, of course. Let's talk about it. Right, first off, before I dive into this and get into all that stuff, one, Lakers, at least at this time, don't seem interested in Bradley Beal, which is good. I'm glad. Two, the Lakers should not go trade for Bradley Beal. They should stay as far away from Bradley Beal as possible. I do think, have some pros and cons, and we'll go over both pros and cons for why. Start with the cons here in a moment, because that's the easy stuff, and then make the argument for the actual trade if it were to happen. But again, 1, I don't think it's going to happen. 2, it shouldn't happen. And 3, again, Lakers don't seem to have interest for now. That's good. Don't be surprised if reports come out that maybe they're exploring it or something. But Phoenix is an absolute disaster, right? They are a dumpster fire. I've said this from the moment they traded for Bradley Beal. It makes no sense, right? The big 3 thing, which is going to be the biggest thing. 1, because Phoenix, and that's been a total disaster. And 2, people are going to be like, big 3s don't work. They do work when they're structured properly, right? When you have 2 guys that are essentially the exact same player in Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, and neither are good enough as playmakers to play the point guard, and neither are skilled enough or big enough as 3s to play the 3, you're stuck, right? Like, now you're small, you don't have defense, you have all these liabilities. Well, if you have a big 3 that does fit and does mesh well, think of Boston with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. All 3 guys play different positions. All 3 guys play different roles. All 3 guys could do multiple things on the basketball court. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, same thing. All 3 guys play different positions. All 3 guys play different roles. All 3 guys did different things. Same thing with LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love, right? Like, if you're going to have a big 3, they have to work and make sense. There has to be that balance. And you have to have guys that can fill in that pecking order. Right? Like, Kevin Love became the clear 3rd option. Ray Allen worked because he was off ball and he didn't need the ball in his hands. Same thing with the Golden State Warriors. Why did Golden State work so well? Because Kevin Durant could do everything out there and didn't need the ball and to take 20 shots a game to be super ultra efficient. Steph Curry is probably better off ball than he is on ball. He's such a threat shooting the basketball. Klay Thompson, at that point, was still a, all defensive type guy and didn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. And Draymond Green didn't need to score the basketball. He could just play defense and make plays. The pieces have to fit. Now, as to why the cons for Bradley Beal, because remove all the noise, right? Let's peel away for just a moment, right? Peel away all the noise, the contract and injury history. Bradley Beal, pre-Phoenix, which I know a lot of people are going to look at the Phoenix situation and go, he's not the same player, he's trash, he's this, the other. I disagree. I think he can still get back to being that, 25, 5-5 guy, something like that, right? Bradley Beal, Washington Bradley Beal, actually makes a ton of sense for the Lakers, right? Lakers trading for Bradley Beal actually is possible. They could go and make the move. Same thing with Jimmy Butler. You'd have to trade Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and Jared Vanderbilt, most likely, or you'd have to stack guys, but probably just trade Jared Vanderbilt. So you'd have to trade essentially those 4 guys. I think you can get Plumlee in the deal too, because he's making $2 million. So I think you could do something like those 4 for Plumlee and Bradley Beal. And then also, because the Lakers freed up cap space in the previous trade, you could still fill out those last 2 roster spots if need be. You wouldn't have to trade any picks, so that's a benefit, right? It's just like, hey, we're doing you the favor. So maybe you could even get some assets in a return. Could you get Chris Dunn instead of Plumlee? I don't know how much Dunn is making up top of my head, but point is, you get a backup center, which solves the need. Get a backup center, and you could get a 3rd guy for the Lakers. So there are some pros there. Now, put all the layers back to it. He's making $50 million this year. By the time his contract's up, it's $60 million. He can't play more than 50 games a season, right? You look at the last 3-4 years, right? Because I made arguments, for example, Zach LaVine. People go, oh, he's injury prone, he's this, that, the other. He's not. right? Like, played 77 games, 67 games, right? The guy's playing around 70 games a season, 67 to 70 games a season. The league average is 65. That's why the standard is 65, right? For the threshold for accolades. So if Bradley Beal was playing 65, 70 games a season, sure, there's some sense made there, right? Cool. Do it, make it happen. But again, with his contract and the fact that he only plays 40 games a season, 50 games a season, you can't justify it. If he was 82 games a season or 80 games a season, I think there might be a conversation to be had, because he's also young enough to where Bradley Beal plus Anthony Davis makes a ton of sense long term, right? If he could get back to Washington, Bradley Beal, which I do think in the right situation he could. If he went to Miami, which I actually think is probably the best place for him, and it might keep Jimmy Butler, although you'd have to trade Jimmy Butler, but if he went back to Miami, I think he'd go back to being a 35-5 guy. Right, because he'd be able to be himself, he'd be able to play the role, he'd be able to go and get buckets and stuff like that. So I do think Miami makes a lot of sense, but Miami doesn't seem to be interested in swapping Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler. So if that's true, then that's off the table. Denver, I don't see Denver going and trading for Bradley Beal. Doesn't make sense. I think he's stuck in Phoenix. Phoenix is either going to have to trade Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. If they want to give us Kevin Booker, they want to give us Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, I'll take that all day, right? But reality is they're going to do everything they can to try to keep those guys. If this gets torn down, it'll probably get torn down in the offseason, which means they probably don't even make the play. And again, to kind of break down the fit and whether it would work or not. Because again, we established, don't do it, right? Not worth it. The contract and the injury history, it doesn't make sense because of it. Bradley Beal, the player, without all that, actually makes a world of sense, right? I wouldn't expect him to get to 35-5 for the Lakers because he'd basically be the third guy. Most nights he'd probably be the second guy. But I do think he would be a, 22, we call it, so say 22 to 20 to 25 point a game guy. I think he'd also get you 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think he's a guy that could do all the things that you need him to do. Close down the stretch, hit big shots, right? The guy is a bucket, right? The guy was, in Washington, looked at as a star. This time 3 years ago, right, we would have gladly taken Bradley Beal, especially when we had like Russell Westbrook on the team, right? Like, but things have changed. Times have changed. It feels like the Lakers are right there, right? And, I'm somebody that has been on board with like a Zach LaVine or something like that, right? But again, he's played the previous years. I know last season he only played 25 games, but he was supposed to finish the season for one. And two, he was also was like, I'm not going to Detroit, right? Even Chicago was like, wait, you have to have surgery? Like, it was so out of left field. But again, you look at the history beyond that, it's 77 games, 67 games. I think it's like 60 games, right? Like, the guy's giving you the amount of games that you need to justify it. Also, that $7 million is a big difference, right? And then also, once it gets to like 60 million is a big difference. Like, if Bradley Beal could restructure his contract or something, then maybe there's an argument, right? Like, have him restructure it or, trade for him and then have him restructure it. And then you can make some moves, do some things maybe in the offseason or something, kind of make a push this season. And then, but you can't. Right? He doesn't have like, a non-guaranteed next season, or he doesn't have anything where like, you can negotiate. Like, you're stuck with him. And if it doesn't work, that's it, right? You're not going to be able to get off of him. No one else is going to take him. You'd have to give up assets to get off of him. So again, I want to establish and make it very clear. I do not want Bradley Beal on this team. However, I do think that he would make a lot more sense on the Lakers than he does in Phoenix, because the Lakers, again, Bradley Beal in the Austin Reeves role, Bradley Beal is the better player, right? Whether people want to admit it or not, he is the better player. There's no doubt. Bradley Beal in the Austin Reeves role would make the Lakers much better, right? He's more consistent when he's not on the Phoenix Suns as like the third guy in a clunky fit and all that. He'd actually get to play his natural position, which would be the 2, right? You could go bring in a guy or whatever. Like, you'll be fine. You figure it out, right? Saw it in Bradley Beal, Max Christie. LeBron would have to essentially be your point guard, but Bradley Beal can initiate. The problem is with how the Phoenix Suns are structured, that's why they went and got a Tyus Jones. They need somebody that can wheel and deal for this team, right? The Lakers don't. The style of offense that they run, and then also you have LeBron James. So you just need somebody like Bradley Beal who can initiate the offense. So Bradley Beal, you could slot as the point guard, but really he'd be playing the Austin Reeves role, which is basically your two guard, right? So LeBron and Anthony Davis could defer to Bradley Beal. He could go be that bucket for you. He could go basically the same concept as like a Zach LaVine idea, but higher ceiling, right? Like Bradley Beal is, again, like people forget how good he was. This Phoenix run just made everyone go, this dude's trash. But it's not that. It's just he's on a bad team, right? He's a bad fit. Doesn't make sense, right? He's a complete redundancy. So it doesn't add up. And we've seen the Laker fans, right? Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook was also a different situation. He declined, but Bradley Beal can shoot. He can score. He can operate in the mid-range, apply rim pressure, get to the foul line, rebound. The guy can do everything at the guard position. So there is a lot of sense to be made. And again, 2-3 years ago, we all would have been lining up to take Bradley Beal. We would have all gladly signed up to bring in Bradley Beal. But again, the situation's changed. However, Bradley Beal, Max Christie, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis is pretty nice. Issue is I still don't really like I love Max Christie. Again, I am as high on Max Christie as you can possibly be. But as you're starting to, it's a little rough, right? Like I have some concerns. So maybe you go with like a Cam Reddish at that point. But even him, he's a guy that you might as well just stick with Max Christie, right? But the only reason I would be thinking Cam Reddish is just because he's bigger and longer, all right? But Max Christie gives you the better two-way. Both are inexperienced, which is the problem. Again, there's an argument to be made. I just don't think the argument is good enough, right, to justify that move. Like, if it works, Lakers probably win the championship. Right? Like, if Bradley Beal can stay healthy and get back to a version of Washington, which I do believe, again, I believe he would be, then good luck beating them. Right, because they wouldn't have to trade Dorian Finney-Smith, like I said. So they'd literally have Bradley Beal, Max Christie, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Your bench should be a little rough, but your bench is rough right now anyway. So who cares, right? Like you'd still have basically all the same guys, but you bring in a legit backup center in Mason Plumlee that can help a ton. I don't think it's worth it, but if it works, the Lakers probably win the chip, if we're being honest. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Kind of mixed in the middle? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.